Hello, everyone. Welcome back to, well, actually, welcome to the new podcast because I still don't have a name, but we rebranded recently. Today I have Kyler Sane on. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, backstory. We met when you were in another band at the time, and now launched this new solo EP called Flow. I guess my first question is, it's actually not about your solo project. It's actually how did you get involved, like music? Like who was your musical influences? What got you actually started into doing it?
Hmm. Uh, so I think before I even got into music, I almost consider myself a bit of a musical mute of sorts. I just didn't really take it very seriously. And before that, I know there was a moment where my mom tried to get me into music when I was going through like an eighth grade like relationship that was kind of like not super going so well. And for some reason at that moment I associated playing music and guitar with like Led Zeppelin, and that like really overwhelmed me. I was just like, for some reason I was overwhelmed with the idea of guitar solos, and so I didn't think I would do it at that moment. But 2 years later I ended up listening to No Effects, and the songs always detailed how music, punk rock specifically, was always so easy to learn, and you don't even have to play in tune, this and that. It was just always saying things that was maybe a little bit of a joke and on the nose, but it kind of inspired me to pick up the guitar and even bass and many other instruments. There was the album Wolves and Wolves Clothing and Coasters, but the song specifically was Eddie, Bruce, and Paul, which was an Iron Maiden inspired song that I heard, and there were solos in it and these crazy bass lines and vocal lines that made me think maybe I could do this, and it would be really cool if I did do this. And I, in that moment, decided to be a bassist and a guitarist. And uh, even early on, I did have like drum sets and eventually piano shortly after when I went to college, and a couple different instruments. But yeah, I mean, it started off with no effects, and then I even went into music college, and I majored for like a semester in jazz guitar. So when I even did stuff in bands, there was always this little element of sprinkling jazz chords and just thinking outside the box into everything I was doing. And I guess I couldn't really escape that forever. But I can kind of go on and on about that from there. But I'd always say no effects. And even before that, Linkin Park was actually the band that kind of got me into just listening to music.
All right. Well, that's really good. Speaking of Lincoln Park, I have to ask: do you like it now, or did you like it before?
I mean, I like them in all incarnations, I suppose. I know that a lot of people really like the first two albums the most, but the first song I ever heard from them was technically Breaking the Habit. I was had a migraine. I was probably sixth or seventh grade. One of my friends was on YouTube, didn't know what YouTube was, and I just was like, "What is that?" And he's like, "I'm on YouTube. This is that song from this band." And I was like, "Whoa!" So I took interest in the music, and eventually, I actually LimeWired what would end up being called Midnight Minutes to Midnight, but I ended up getting the wrong songs with the right names, LimeWired. So I was listening to the wrong album the entire time leading up to me buying the Minutes to Midnight album. So I'm like out with my family in Pennsylvania listening to Minutes to Midnight for the first actual time, and you hear Wake, and then you just hear Giving Up. And I'm in the front seat with my dad and my mom, and then my sisters. And as you know, that song's very heavy, and there's maybe some cursing and screaming. I did not know this was going to happen at that moment. And part of me is like kind of getting cold sweats, and part of me is like, wow, this is actually a really cool song. So that's like a pretty funny memory. But yeah, and then I know the other part of the question would be like liking them now. And I know that when they returned, a lot of people were split on Emily because, you know, they're one of the biggest bands in the world and you're going to get every opinion that could exist naturally. And while I won't really go into anything that is part of their controversy as to what splits them, if I'm just talking about the music, I think that they definitely hold their own. And I did see them at their Brooklyn show when they came back to New York, the
Oh,
first one.
nice.
Yeah. And I saw how challenging firsthand experience wise, like it is to just kind of go from all these different songs, like because there's just so many different styles that you have to fit between the ballads, the metal, the rapping, so on and so forth. And I think that they very much held their own. They probably had different strengths and different weaknesses than Chester. And, you know, they are not going to be him. And no one is really anyone else besides themselves. So, you know, that's really it, you know?
Right. Mm. What has been the overall like? So sorry, my stupid notification from Discord. Not Discord. Something came up. I don't know. Something that I had to mute real quick. Anyways, so yeah, yeah, I agree. The whole Linkin Park. I love their new music, but I've also never. This is gonna sound crazy. I'm also not exactly the biggest fan. I never really was the hugest fan of Linkin Park. I like their music, but I was not like die hard. Had to listen to every single song that dropped when it dropped. Not like like a la like a Newfound Glory, who is my favorite band of all times. I always like
Mm-hmm.
follow them like that's like my like I follow them like almost like it's my religion. Like like it's like they got a new tour coming up or they got new shows. But like I get where everyone's love is. I personally love the new songs a lot, and I do think I would love to see them when they came to Baltimore, but I missed it because I was like, don't know if I want to go. And I actually turned down some tickets that I could have gone, and I was like, no, I'm good. I was just like, yes, but no. I don't know. I just kind of was like, I don't know if I want to go to an arena show. I don't really go to them. I like more intimate crowd, like more like I'd rather hang out with like 10 people than 1,000, if that makes any sense.
Yes, it's a completely different setting, and you have to mentally prepare yourself. I mean, I went by myself, and there was just it was just there for the music. And if you're
Yeah.
not there for that reason, you're not prepared to like be emotionally like super engulfed in that experience, then you might not really get the same thing out of it because like you're not going to be talking to other people and hanging out. You know, you're just
Yeah.
zoning into that like performance.
Yeah. What has been now obviously I know you've done little mini tours and during your time with your other project. What's it like the tour? Like what are the highs? Like what are the lows? Like what has been like your like what do you think like what do you think the high and lows of touring is for you in your point of view?
So yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of weekenders. I've done a couple of like 2 week things. I think I don't really know what. Let's see. I mean, I've never really had so many things that I would consider lows. We've always managed to be pretty like self-efficient in that like I always had a van and we were always taken care of by the people in my life because I worked at like a towing and auto body place for a long time. Um, we always kind of figured out money things pretty easily because we just try to make sure that we were not going to mess up in that regard. So like we were not going to be in the red. We never really lost money being on the road, which is not, you know, super easy, I guess. But we, I was also very fortunate that when I was on the road, like I never really had to spend money on hotels because I just always managed to know someone out there that was just like welcoming to my crew and myself to just stay at their place. So like I was always mostly taken care of in some way in that capacity. But I've had some very insane moments at shows. Some
Yeah.
things that are like some things I don't even know if I could say because of like some things people said were kind of weird. But I do have stories. Uh, so let me see. I remember I was in Wisconsin, I think it was. And this one, I'm going to have to probably censor myself slightly because it's kind of silly in a weird way. But I remember we were playing, and I don't think anyone was from Wisconsin. I think there was a band from Florida, two bands from Illinois. And when we were done, actually, before we even played, I remember I was outside of the venue. There was like some skater boy who came out of nowhere, and they were just like, they came up to me and said something about how they thought that they died earlier. And then they were going on some rant, and I was very confused by what they said. And then I went into my van, and then I gave them Excedrin, and then they told me they loved me. It was kind of like a joke on the fact that they were going through some pain that they didn't really seem to think was very serious. It was very like a trippy moment. And then they were just like, I love you, see you later. And then they skated off into the distance. But then I know that was our set had ended. The show was pretty much over. I was standing outside of the back of my van talking to one of the bands, and then someone in the distance just kept screaming something, and you could barely hear it. But then they kept coming closer, and then eventually you can start to hear someone say, "I suck Danielle's for $1,000," and he just kept saying this on loop. He just kept saying, "I suck Danielle's for $1,000," and we just kept trying to ignore it. But then we realized that he was walking down the street to where we were. So, like, I'm starting to tell the guys, like, we should probably go back into the venue. And then as I'm walking towards the front of my van, I noticed that he's in front of the venue next to my venue, talking to these girls that were like just kind of standing outside of it, and they're trying to be like communicating with this guy, and they're like, "You're being rude," but like, and their sense cut off by him just saying, "Ah, sorry," just keep saying the same thing. And then I go into the venue and I start telling people what had happened and how it's kind of odd and scary. And then I turn around and now the guy's in my venue and he just is at the water like tap thing, and he turns around and he said something like, "You got a lily?" And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "You got a man?" And then I was just like, and I pointed at my girlfriend at the time, and I was like, "Well, I have her." And then he's just like, starts staring off into the distance and just kind of looking around the room. He's like, "That means you got something special." And he has this whole entire like dialogue, like little monologue to himself. And at some point, he's just like, "Can I just pee, please?" And then someone walks him off to the bathroom, and then we kind of just talk about how that is happening, and then he comes out, and then he just kind of stole some pizza and then he left. But moments like that would just happen all the time. I remember we were in Detroit and we're like, all right, we're gonna eat, we're gonna try to be like low key, we're gonna like make it seem like this is not a band van. And as soon as I stepped foot on pavement, someone's like, "Are you in a band?" And then He's just like, I was like, yeah, I guess so. He's like, you're a singer or something. And then he just kept narrowing it down. And he's like, you got CDs, you got this, you got that, you got that. And then before we can even really answer any of these questions, he's like, all right, well, I'll leave you alone now. I'll see you later or something. It was just like, we always just kind of ran into interesting characters no matter
Yeah,
where we were on the road. And the stories just never seemed to end.
yeah,
So I think that's kind of like a positive. Sometimes we would run into very dangerous people.
yep.
Sometimes we were held at hostage
Mm,
in certain states, and other times violence would kind of break out at shows, and then we would have to like perform after that, and that was very awkward
cool.
and scary at times. But ultimately, most of the time, it was a good time, and we kept ourselves around good people. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that answers the question.
No, that answered more than that. Oh God, I can't even imagine like all the craziness on the road. I mean, I've gone with, I work with a band called Go on Red. We've gone out of state for shows, but never like full blown runs. We've only gone like, okay, we got a show in Virginia this week. Now we got a show in PA next week. Now we got a show in Maryland. Then we got one in Delaware. It was never like full blown weekenders. It would be like, here's a Thursday, and then here's a Friday show, and then here's a Monday show. It was always really weird. But
Mm.
uh funniest venue story. Have you ever played Bar 13 in Delaware?
I've never played Delaware, but I know that there's somewhere in Delaware that's interested in having me recently.
Oh, nice. So this place, Bar 13, it's a it's not a weird venue. It's actually, they're really nice people that run it. Best thing about Delaware is there's no sales tax. So if you buy anything, it's full. You pay the price. So um, I
Hmm.
was um I was drinking at the time. I don't drink as much as I used to. Very seldom do I have a drink. But when when I was working with the band, they had this drink that was a very fruity beverage. And when I asked how much it was, they said, "Oh, you're in Delaware," and it was like $5. I was like, "Wait, what? If I got this in Baltimore, it'd be like 10." So it was really
Uh,
nice. But I will tell you, it was not a fun night after that, because I was like, when they told me how much they were, I was just like going down. Like again, I was at the time of really really bad, very very bad at that stage, and now I'm like really now I'm very good now. But at the time, I was like, oh cool, $5 drinks here, I'll buy like five more, and it was just like after a while, I'm like, oh god, I gotta stop. But that was probably the best. That was probably the funniest moment there. And then because I did video for the band, they have a pole. They do pole dance in there. They have a pole on the platform by the stage, so that's where I had to set my camera up, and I was taking pictures. I sent them to my stepdad. I'm like, hey dad, look, I'm looking at my camera spot tonight, and he goes, just make sure you keep your clothes on. So that was probably a funny tour. That's funny, a tour quotation mark story. Yeah, I don't know, really really fun. But I guess my next question is going into writing and recording your solo EP that just dropped, Flow, which is available on all streaming. It's on the all streaming platforms, right? I know it's on YouTube Music because that's what I use.
yeah,
Okay, so
uh, I'm pretty sure it's on everything. Some things might have taken a minute to like get on there, but as far as I'm concerned, yeah,
you use DistroKid, right?
yeah,
I think everybody uses DistroKid. For a while there, they weren't distributing the YouTube Music because I'm friends with Waters Deep, and took them. They released an album in 2023. It took them until 2025 almost to get it on there. I think it was like December of 2024
that's
that it got
weird.
on there. Yeah, YouTube. Yeah, DistroKid for a while there wasn't distributing the YouTube right away. I don't know what it was, or maybe the button wasn't clicked right. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I never really knew that YouTube Music was that much of a thing, but there are people that choose different platforms, especially with what's going on with everyone's involved. Like different streaming services have different things that they're doing, and then they want to different people want to use different things that they're more comfortable with.
Yeah, well, I have YouTube Premium, so it comes with a subscription. It's included with YouTube Premium,
Oh.
and I figured ad-free music. I didn't have ad-free music on in the crap Spotify. I didn't have Spotify Premium, but I know a lot of people like to use it, so I know a lot of people like Spotify a lot, and they use I guess because you don't have to pay for Spotify in a way.
You do. I mean, there's a charge on it. There are like family plans and stuff like that. But if you do use Spotify without paying for it, you can't really listen to what you want to listen to. You can kind of just listen to random songs by certain artists, and then you're gonna have to like still deal with ads randomly showing up.
Okay. See,
It's
I don't
not
use
really,
it, so I don't know.
yeah, it's not really ideal to not pay for it and still use it.
Okay. So, want to get in the flow a little bit. So, how was
Mhm.
it like going it back into the studio to start writing and writing and recording these songs? Like, did you have like any hesitation? Was there any fear in writing it, like in recording? Like, did you think that people weren't gonna like really want to like listen to? Like, were there ever those moments?
Uh, no, no, everything just kind of happened incredibly quick. So everything, like the story kind of goes in different like increments of time, and that I was recommended to do an open mic, and then the next day I wrote Flow, and then the next 2 days I wrote, well, not the next 2 days, the next 2 weeks I ended up writing the rest of the EP, and then I ended up at the open mic debuting those songs. Um, so I ended up having that all figured out, and I then sort of said that I was gonna want to maybe go into a studio, and so I ended up getting in conversations with a couple different people, but ultimately, Chad from Movie Wawa, which is a reggae band, he wanted to. Well, I have this one video that some people might have saw of me playing Articulate at this one art open mic, and that night he was running that open mic, and he was just like, I really like music like No Effects and stuff that you're playing, and he wanted to play drums on the EP, and his bandmate has a studio, so that kind of just fell into place that way. And then I had a friend, we were writing music already, doing stuff, and he played violin. He's a violin teacher, so he kind of fell into doing that. So I was trying to figure out a bunch of stuff outside of the solo stuff, but in this moment, I was kind of like, I have all these songs and I should probably record them. So I just went in the studio and very, very, very quickly just recorded them. I didn't really think of it, but I was just going to be an acoustic situation. But because of the affordability and the fact that I got a couple of people who wanted to be involved in it, it went from what could have just been an acoustic situation to me playing acoustic, singing, playing bass. Then they had drums and then violin. Everything was done very, very quickly. And I was kind of just thinking I was just going to throw it out there until a lot of people in my life were like, these are some of the best songs you ever wrote. And now, what I'm, this all happened. So I wrote these songs in August 2024, and I recorded them in November 2024. And it wasn't until um, basically Valentine's Day 2025 this year where I decided to actually take this thing more seriously, because I just realized that ultimately this is what was happening in my life at this point. You know, this was the only thing that I had control over, making sure was happening in the midst of tons of changes in my life. And that's kind of what like the whole theme of these songs were, which was kind of like that change is all you can rely on in life. So I wanted to make sure that if I was going to release this, that I wasn't just going to throw it out there into the void of life and just maybe someone will listen to it. So I decided, let's make something happen that's a little bit more serious. So then we made somewhat of a plan, which involved getting the EP release show, the merch, conceptualizing EP artwork, and I ended up painting that artwork that my manager ended up doing, and then I ended up getting onto a lot of shows based off of just me being at the open mic a lot. I ended up writing like 20 songs in the past like 10 months or so, and I just kept showing up. And yeah, I mean, really, when it came to the recording process was just very, very quick. I wrote the songs, showed up, recorded it, and then I realized, oh wait, I should probably start a career based off of this. And I already started recording something else with Drew from Straight from the Path, but as soon as we started, he had to go off and play the final shows of Straight from the Path. So it's not quite finished, that song, but there's a couple of other projects to be recorded, kind of set for like the next 6 years. As of the moment, I've got a lot more things lined up to finish. Like I got a couple songs to finish right now.
Nice. So yeah, you're definitely grinding for sure. You're definitely getting it all going for you and stuff. And yeah, like I was before we started recording, because for those that aren't aware of this interview as well, Kyler is coming to play Lawn Sphere on September 20th.
Yep.
Got
Now,
Kyler to come down and do that. Basically just started with a simple DM, and I was like, hey, I and like I told you, like, hey, you don't know unless you ask, and that's basically it's true. Because I was nervous, I'm like, I don't know if I'll be able to pull this off, but I'll ask. And sure enough, you were the first person that said yes. Like, let's go.
hmm.
And was there like I have to ask you, like, was that like something? Because I know it didn't take you long. You said, well, let me check, and then you're like, yeah, I'll do it. And I was like, oh, cool.
Well, the only reason that I had to check realistically was that we were planning on doing a music video,
Oh,
and
okay.
we're planning on releasing it in September because my birthday. We're planning on doing this triple occasion holiday where we would open for a show for a big band around my birthday and premiere my music video. But we've been doing so many different things with this project so far that we've had to pivot and push it back a little bit. So that's what I had to like make sure of, that made sense. And it made sense so we can give ourselves a little bit of breathing time. And now that we just released the EP, um, it makes a little bit more use of the momentum, because now next week I'm going to be playing with the Queers twice. I'll be with them in Brooklyn, and then I'll be with them in Pennsylvania, and then the shows after that, I'll be playing Brooklyn with some bands from Georgia, New Jersey, and then I guess the shows after that would really be playing a Jersey show leading to the Maryland show to just keep things moving.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. There's a lot of good people on that bill. I know everybody in person. Actually, it's playing. It's well, not you. Besides you, I haven't met you in person yet, but I will be that day. And yeah, everyone's
Mm-hmm.
on there, really, really excited. We got Liam. I don't know if you've looked into the bands that are playing, but
A little bit, yeah.
yeah, Liam Hoosier is actually from a band called Cruiser. Well, he's still in Cruiser, but he's also doing his own solo stuff. So he's got 2 songs out now, and he's debuting. I think this is his very first solo show, and I was like, oh, well, that's cool. And yeah, got Flying in a Minivan. They're kind of a metalcore band. They're actually the heaviest band on the bill, but whatever. I was like, well, we're just gonna
Mhm.
have fun. This is a mixed genre, and the place the place is very open to mixed genre shows because that was my biggest fear. Because there are people that are like, "Oh no, you can't have that." I'm like, "Well, I'm sorry, I'm doing it anyway." Like, yeah, I'm like my first show I did back in earlier this month. Well, by the time this comes out, it'll be last month. It did really well. I had a mixed genre show. It was like alternate. Well, I don't want to say it was totally mixed genre. Everyone pretty much was like alternative ish, but this is more
Mm.
alt. Like Flying in Minivans more metalcore. Band of Misfits is like rap hip hop, and then I have you. I
Oh well.
consider Yeah, I can say. And then I like more alternative, grungy is what I was feeling from the songs from the EP.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the solo stuff fits in the world of a couple different things. Maybe like pop punk, folk
Yeah,
punk, emo, alternative.
yeah. So it definitely fits into the vibes that. And then Armani Broken, more alternative, emo-y, She calls it like ah crap. What was it? She told me a different genre name that she just kind of coined it. Not really coined it because it's not really,
Mm,
but. And then Liam, who's more alternative, more alternate. It's like, so yeah, it's pretty much a basic. It's pretty much it all kind of falls in the same kind of that kind of area in a way.
right.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, I used to run a music festival that was like very much all about bands representing or artists representing their own genre. And uh, my band that I was in, Muck, we just didn't really uh, fit in any one specific thing. So when we toured, we just toured with everyone. So I kind of feel like I'm tackling things in a very similar way where I don't really know solo artists as much as I know the people that I've spent so much time getting to know already. So I'm just heading up bands and being
Yeah.
like, let's just play shows. And I don't really feel like my solo music is dramatically, um, it doesn't feel like it's left field considering what I was already playing. So it's just like, it's rock music at the end of the day.
Right.
So we'll just play with bands, or I'll play with solo artists, or I'll play with whoever the heck wants to play with me, and I'll just keep building up from there.
Yep. Yeah, cause like this show, as soon as they gave me the date, I rolled with it. I asked a couple people. Some of them didn't get back to me right away. You got back to me fairly well. I guess because I saw it was that you were like Messenger app told me you were active. I was like, I'm sending a message. Like, let's go. And I like, hey, like I tell everybody, you never know unless you ask. Like, you gotta ask before you know. It's like you can't just assume no. I mean, that's the worst they're gonna say is no.
Yeah. Well,
Or I've
it's
actually been told fuck you. I actually once I've been told fuck you. I was like, well, that's no. That's no in a more vulgar way, but okay.
mm-hmm.
Which is fine because they didn't like the idea of it being a door deal, and they're like, "No, I'm not doing door deals. I can't do that." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine. I get it. I'm not mad." And they thought I was mad. They hit me up like later on in the week. Oh, dude, I am so sorry. I did not mean to sound like that. I'm like, yeah, okay. You just saw that I didn't reply, and you automatically assumed the worst. Which I said, dude, you're fine. I'm not mad. I get it. Not everyone wants to say agree to door deal because I know that doesn't always mean you're gonna because that's just code for we might play for nothing.
Well, it's
It's how the business goes, you know.
certain shows. It's like, do you want to be able to play and not have stress and maybe not make money, or do you want to have a big show where you have responsibilities, but you might have something on the line? It's like, pick and choose
Yeah,
because there are also people who only want to play shows that they're being paid to, but like not everyone is
yeah.
really bringing an audience. So it's like there's so many different things to really factor into that.
Yeah,
So,
I've worked shows where people had guarantees and they had nobody show up for them. Like it's so crazy. Like I don't know. I know you said you were working with a festival. Has that happened where you've had like obviously guarantees or like that's the thing that I always like to get up the bat with people. Like I'm like, do you have a guarantee? Because like honestly, I can't guarantee people.
well,
Local
that's
shows are a gander or a gamble. They are, and that's why I picked this venue. Is really awesome, and they're very sweet to me. So I'm gonna keep them in my mind.
at the level where my festival was, we didn't really do a lot of conversations and when it came to that, but it's also not really my place to talk about that topic so much. I think that really it I think in general when it comes to like guarantees in bands, you're really going to have to wager your what you value in having them on that bill and not really get disappointed either which way on how it turns out. You know what I mean? So like if they don't bring anyone, you you kind of just hope. You just gotta hope that you're gonna be happy that they're there.
Yep.
So like it's
Yeah.
kind of something you have to set yourself up for.
Yeah. Like all the people I book are not. Well, I want to say I'm not really. I hate when people say I'm a new booker in Baltimore because I'm really not. I like to consider myself party planner times two. Like I like to consider myself a party planner because I hate the word. Obviously, I know promoters and bookers. I do know them, and I do know that that's what they call themselves. But I like to call myself an event party planner, but to the max because like I don't go out of my way to like if you look at my dates, it's September and then October and November. It's literally like I'm not booking constantly. It's like here's one, and then a month later here's another. Like bi-monthly, basically, in a way.
But I don't know how long you've been doing it, but like
Well,
you
this
got
is
to do
gonna
it
be my
at
second show. The 920 is my second show, and my first show did really well. I was really happy with it.
yeah. So like it's one of those things where you want to do it at a comfortable pace because if you just do a million things all at once, then you're gonna like lose track of quality control. So don't
Yeah.
overwhelm yourself because I used to like if I have like a graphic from 2019 where I just had a third of the year booked out between me touring, booking touring bands, running open mics, sketch and chills. Well, that was more of someone else on my team, and then my festival, all these different things. And that's not to say that because I did a lot that any of that was necessarily bad, but like you can definitely have too many projects at certain points and just
And then
maybe not be able to focus on making any of those things as good as they could possibly be.
and then it becomes burnout for yourself as well.
Well, yeah, I definitely know that not everyone is trying to do that, even though you can probably push some people to maybe accept getting to that level, but they might experience it and then get exhausted. And I know that for myself, I don't know if I'm going to get burned out trying to hit a level like that again, but I'm hoping to not have to find out that way the way I used to
Yeah.
because I used to book out every single available weekend. And nowadays, I'm going to hope that I'm going to work towards setting myself up in such a way where, yes, I still want to play a lot of shows and I want to play good ones that are all over the place, but I don't want to do things that are going to, like you said, burn myself out or make me feel like I'm not doing something right. I want to plan things out in a proper way, especially because for once in my life, I have so much music. I have a better understanding of how to handle things after doing things for half of my life. I'm like about to turn 31, so for
Happy
about
early birthday.
thanks, yeah. So there's just something that comes with the experience where I'm gonna hope that that all pans out in a much more efficient way. The more that I continue down this path, that I don't make the same mistakes over and over and over again. I can continue to build upon the foundations that I've just set forth in this past year.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely something that you know, it could be considered insane. Um, yeah, whew, half a year booked.
Hmm?
Just going back to that when you said half a year was booked for you in 2019, I'm just like,
Oh no, well, it was like 100 something days or so.
man, that that's gotta be insane. So now comes some fun questions. Now these are now you can think about the questions, but they're really really fun. So first question is if you had like say, obviously like let's say your favorite who's your favorite like if you had to pick your like living or dead your favorite band or artist calls you up tomorrow and says, "Hey, I need you to open up my tour." Is there a band out there? Is there a band out there or artist that you would just drop everything and just go? Like, I'm not even gonna tell anybody. I'm just gone. Like, is there anyone out there that, like, if they called you tomorrow and if they called you like right now and said, "Hey, I need you to open my tour," and you need to leave tomorrow, who's that? Is there a certain artist or band that you would do that for? Just drop everything and go?
I mean, I think the obvious one would just be No Effects, because they're the one that I wanted to, that I can't technically now because they kind of stopped doing things. It's not the biggest band, but that's the band that kind of got me into doing it. I think I have other goals nowadays that still work towards, but definitely No Effects.
Well, I can't say that they're not known. That I mean, I know who they are because I've seen their name on flyers, but I've never seen them live. But I know their name.
Yeah, they're the band that made me want to do this whole entire thing. And some people have said that my solo act is like a mix between them and AJJ, which is like a folk punk band that's a little bit more indie nowadays. And that's another band that I would want to tour with. And my solo stuff is very akin to like early AJJ because they started off as an acoustic and stand up bass kind of instrumentation. So like I have a lot of favorite bands. So any of those bands, I would easily go and do that with. Um, but yeah,
Okay. Now, obviously, you help book a festival, but let's say you were, let's say, I don't want to say Live Nation because they are greedy. I will stand by that. I don't care what anyone says. I'm going to stand by that statement. They are greedy. Um, if you were given unlimited money, they came up to you and said, Kyler, here is $1 billion. We have a 3 day festival. We already picked the spot. It's in the middle of the freaking desert, but it's Las Vegas, like where they hold those when we were young festivals. They give you that festival ground. They give you them Vegas grounds. You have a 3 day festival. Who's headlining Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? Living or dead? Who's headlining those 3 days?
uh, I guess it's a good thing I didn't answer the other question with these answers. So I feel like I would probably put the Beths maybe on Friday, Pendulum, and I don't know, maybe Demi Lovato.
Hell yeah! Oh, you like Demi Lovato? Oh,
Yeah.
you're the first person I talked to that likes Demi Lovato. Like openly will admit it. I love her music. I really do.
I mean, have you not seen what happened with me and them like 2 years ago?
Yes, I have seen that, but I wasn't
And
sure because you had told the one person and then they hit like on it and stuff like that. So I had not known if that was like me
I
personally.
mean,
I really do love Demi Lovato. Not a big fan of the whole Disney days of things, but I have seen obviously I've seen that stuff, but I'm not really a big fan of like the camp rock or the
oh
song with
well, I mean,
chances. But
I
the
don't know.
music
Like,
from those are good.
yeah, I mean, her first two albums are like some of the best ones.
They kind of remind me of like if Paramore wanted to go work with like Disney contract kind of thing, but I love it.
Hmm. Yeah.
I
Well,
think my favorite song is "Don't Forget." Obviously, I think that one and "La La Land" are probably like my favorite out of that old timey like Demi days.
yeah. I
And then
mean,
I, oh sorry,
that's all right. I mean, I like Remember December.
yeah,
I guess
okay.
the middle, Get Back. Obviously, La La Land's a good one. There's a lot of things on the first ones that I probably don't remember the name, but then like the newest album that she did, Holy Fuck, which had songs like Freak and Skin of My Teeth. Skin of My Teeth, Eat Me, or those are like two songs that inspired my song Pain, which was like my first song back in like 4 years of really finishing a song that I would end up performing.
Oh,
So yeah, that was actually debuted when I played with Nina Strauss. So I didn't even bring that up to them, but
You wanna know how I knew that she was recording more music?
How?
I'm a fan of Royal and the Serpent. And when
Yeah.
Royal and the Serpent announced that they did a song with Demi Lovato, but it was for her out, it was for Demi's album. I was like, wait, what? Demi's
Mm,
still doing music? Like what? Like really? I did not know this. And then I had to go back and look, and yeah, sure enough, I was like, oh, cool. And love Confident. I think that's a really good one.
yeah.
Love Confident. Mainly because I watched that show at the time that she had a guest appearance on. It was From Dusk Till Dawn. I don't know if you watched that as a horror show on this thing called El Rey Network.
Haven't watched.
Well, her then husband or boyfriend or fiance, Wilmer Valderrama, was on that show, and then Demi made a guest appearance in like 3 episodes in season 2, and that's why Robert Rodriguez went and directed the music video, and actually the two guys that Demi was with in the music video are from that TV show.
Hmm.
So a little bit of a background. I'm a film snob. That's my background. I went to film school and all
Oh
that
wow.
fun junk. Yeah, yeah. And now it's like, really? And now you're just dealing with music. And actually, that's how I got involved with music. I eventually just said, the business isn't in Baltimore, and I just started going to local shows, and I fell in love with bands, and I just met them, and I did like photography, video stuff, and I'm like, you know what, music is where it's at. That's my niche now. It's like I can edit you a live video performance, but if you ask me to edit your music video, I could do it, but then it's like, oh, but then I would have to work with the artist directly. That's why I hate working like when they're giving me files to work with. I'm like, how do you want it done?
Right.
But yeah, so I guess my next question is, again, these are fun questions. If you had to spend, obviously, I know you love no effects, but if you had to spend, let's say you got the afternoon to spend with like your favorite musician to record an album with, who's that musician?
Oh wow.
May not an album, but just like a song or two. Make it, because I know you're probably gonna have like multiple answers.
Well, I mean, I don't know. That's like a tough one. I feel like in terms of what would like probably help my career, I feel like I would go with like someone like a Demi Lovato. But like in terms of like the legacy of me being really into a band, I'd probably want to do something with like AJJ with Sean, the singer of that band. But I'm also like really into the Beths nowadays, and I think that their music was actually like the new No Effects to me in 2022 when they put out their last album. They're about to put a new album out recent, so like nowish. But I feel like I would want to write music with them. They're actually an up and coming band that from like New Zealand that's been making a lot of waves and touring with a lot of really big bands. So I mean, it could be any one of those bands for different reasons. I don't really. I feel like I would fit really well with AJJ. I would really think Demi Lovato would be one of those where I don't know if I'd really fit in the same room with them, but I would want to make something happen. But they're really out of my league in some ways, like artistically, being able to just do things I can't do it like singing wise. But I feel like songwriting wise, maybe we're like capable of making something cool happen. And then the Beths, they just do something super different with every song that I'm always stoked to see how they make something. Uh, and they're also one of those bands that make a very layered, like emotional theme song, but it always sounds kind of happy no matter how it goes. It's like always emotionally complicated, but it doesn't ever feel like a minor scale, if you will. Like it always has like an uplifting kind of thing going on, but it's usually some dense topics. So a couple different artists there, maybe.
Okay. Uh, if you had to play a cover show, completely all covers, like say a la an emo night or a la I don't know, just say you were booked to play an emo night, like where you had to pick like a band or an artist. Obviously, no effects you would probably say, but is there like another band that you would cover at like an emo night, like full blown cover set emo night kind of thing? Like, is there a band you would full blown cover?
Uh, well, I don't. I've never really successfully done a cover um, as a solo artist yet. I used to do covers a couple times with different bands I've been in, but I think I haven't really brought up this band at all. But one of my biggest favorite bands of recent that actually inspired most everything that I've been doing in my solo career is the Story So Far. I'm literally wearing a hat of them all the time.
Oh,
So,
that's one of my favorite bands.
you know, somehow that didn't come up in any of these questions yet, but that
Haven't
would
seen
probably
them
be the.
live yet. Have not seen them live. I'm planning to. I think the last tour I remember them going on was with Amity Affliction, and I'm like, oh, but they didn't come nowhere near me.
Hmm. Yeah, I saw them at the end of last year, and I'm seeing at the end of this year. So,
Yeah, it's really crazy. I don't know if I didn't tell you this story yet, but you want to know what my very first return to concerts were
what was it?
after the big COVID. Knuckle Puck. They came
Oh,
to the United States because I think they're from the UK, or at least their singer is. I believe because they have like a. Or am I thinking of a different band? I don't know. I might think of a whole different band. But anyways, um, I had to work the day of my. I had put it in. I bought tickets. Um, to go see them. They announced tour in December, and yeah. One second. Stupid emails. Um, yeah. So basically, what happened was I ended up doing I ended up so I bought tickets in December. I was working at a bowling alley at the time, and I said, "Hey, I'm doing, I'm going." And I put the request off, and it was then denied. And I said, "Oh, I know my way around this." So I called out sick the day of my concert, and I went, and I was like, "You know what? This is the best. This is the best day of me being sick." Like I went to a concert and I never told anybody. It's like I went in the next day like, "Are you feeling better?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better." Like, "I'm sorry I had to miss your concert." I'm like, "Yeah, me too." And the day I quit, I told my boss, "Oh yeah," by like a couple of days later after I quit the job, I was like, "By the way, I did go to that concert." I'm like, "What are you gonna do now?" I'm walking out the door. I'm quit. I quit. And they were like, "What?" Like, "Yeah, I can't do nothing." I was like, "March."
yeah, they probably didn't even remember what happened, but
No, because it was months later. It was like way months later.
yeah,
But I do have a few more questions before I let you go here.
yeah.
What is your biggest like where like obviously I know you said you traveled to like Wisconsin, but is like what's the farthest you've gone for doing shows?
Uh, so if I'm looking at a map, I guess if we're talking going west, it's probably like Wisconsin. If we're talking south, Austin, Texas, and then east, it's probably Maine, and then north, Ontario, Canada.
Oh, nice. How's it play in Canada?
Just felt like a very cold place.
Oh.
That's really it. I mean, I didn't really get to go around and do much. My friend that we stayed at his place, we kind of just stayed at his place with his mom, and well, she has passed away since then, but we
Oh.
all kind of got very had some adventures at that house. I'll say that much. We got a little bit twisted,
Yeah.
and then eventually we were released into the world by the time it was nighttime, and we just went to the venue. It was apparently like an Indian food restaurant upstairs, and then the show was happening downstairs. I will say, you never think that like people. Yeah. Okay, so you know how like people leave before like a band plays and everything, and that's
Yep.
kind of like sort of whatever a thing when you're playing local.
Yeah.
I never would have expected that to happen like when you're out of the country, but it happened by a band who literally announced us by being from out of the country. They're like, all
Oh.
right, well, here's the band. They're from the States. You better stay for them. And then they left literally after they said that
Oh.
sentence. And I'm just like, what the hell?
Yeah. I the very first show I ever so because I know how local. Do you know? Again, I've been in the local scene for, oh my god, it's coming up 10 years in about about next month. It'll be 10 years next month. um, yeah, I've seen it all, and honestly, it's like I'm friends with a lot of bands that are still performing to this day, and they have grown. Well, not grown. I don't want to say grown because that's not true either. They haven't grown completely, but basically, I have work shows where the local band, you can tell when they bring the people and when the band that's playing after them doesn't bring people. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think I think the craziest thing, I think the craziest thing about it is when I started working with when I started working with bands. It's like an artist. It's just like sometimes, eh, go hand in hand. I've seen shows where I've actually given some opinions, like when day of show, like someone came up to me and said, "Hey, do you think I should put this band here and this band here?" I'm like, "Well, we have a tour pack. You have the tour package. Sandwich the touring bands in with the local people because you already have the local band's money and ticket sales that's already paid in advance. Sandwich the touring acts in between the actual bands. That way, more people see them. Because honestly, I've seen that happen, where a touring band has come through, and granted, obviously, you got to file contracts. There's a contract that said, look, they have to headline, or if they're the headlining band, they have to headline. If there's no contract, fair game. Put them wherever you want. And I've seen a show, literally, a touring band was seen by more people than, say, the local band. Well, not necessarily the local band, but I've seen more people show up for the touring band that didn't have a crowd here. So, yeah, it's
Hmm.
definitely insane. I've seen a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like I've had scenarios where, I mean, I remember one time I was on the road and I was playing a festival. I was headlining a festival or something in Virginia. And then I had like my big tour like 2 weeks later. And for some reason, there was friction about like getting like bands on this date in the same state in Virginia. But for some reason, it was just like my friend who was helping me book just did not want to help me book.
Mm,
So it was confusing. And it just came down to like me having to book a show without any bands.
yeah.
So it was like I showed up. It was like my second day. I'm back there, but I did just like play a festival there just 2 weeks earlier. I ended up staying at someone's house and they agreed to play acoustically in between me playing two different sets. And we ended up drawing like, I don't know, like 20 something people because they were happy that we came back. But like, it's just kind of interesting that like you can, I don't know. I don't even know what the point of this was, but like sometimes I guess really what I was getting at is like sometimes you can draw up from out of the area and like the people from there are not really. I don't know. But that was just like it was a validating feeling that I felt like everything was against me and yet I still managed to pull through despite it. It's kind of a bummer that like we couldn't get other bands on the bill
Yeah.
for almost seemingly political reasons that I don't remember at all. But the fact that we're able to basically just play a show mostly by ourselves and like a last minute friends played with us and we still had a crowd there was nice.
Yeah, the I don't know if you've ever now obviously you probably can't say this, but have you ever been in a situation where you've had to not take a show because of say like I'm gonna take a show but there's a radius clause. Have you ever had that experience?
Uh, hmm. mm, I haven't really been on shows that had put radius clauses on. I know that.
I know they exist because people
I
have told
know.
me.
Yeah.
I didn't believe them at first, to be honest with you, but other people have told me, yeah, it's real.
Well,
It's
I've tried to. When I ran my festival, I would kind of have soft radius clauses with people being like, just maybe don't play in a certain period of time, just because we want to make sure this event's going to do well. But like, I wasn't going to punish someone for like if something happened. You know what I mean?
yeah, for sure. I was just asking because I actually got that excuse from somebody once. They were like, "Oh, I'm not playing because of a radius clause," and I come to find out the radius clause was a thing, but it said 30 days, not 60 days, like they were leading me on from.
Yeah, no, that's not something I've ever had to really worry about because usually I would always only play Long Island where I'm from, like
Right,
maybe once a season, and most of the time I'd like be on the road otherwise, and
right,
even those places I wouldn't do too much. Even if I played, it'd usually always be like I'm playing certain areas and certain
yeah,
tri-state areas would get played maybe more often than the ones I would lead out to, like the Jerseys, the city areas, the Connecticut, the Rhode Islands. Those might happen maybe more than once a month, but
right,
otherwise, it wouldn't really. Has nothing to do with the radius clause, but I tried to space everything out pretty well.
right. What has been your favorite venue to play?
Uh, I think that it's kind of a weird answer, but I think one of my favorite places to have had played was the front row. That one was like just a hole in a wall, so to speak. That was in Roanoke, Virginia, mostly for the memories. Like we played so many shows in just a short amount of time and made a lot of friends. Eventually, playing that one festival I mentioned, and by the time we came back from lockdown, we ended up playing with the Queers the first time in Salem, Virginia. And so that's like a town over from Roanoke, Virginia. So Roanoke is kind of like one of my favorite places, and been trying to get my way back out there for a long time. So that's one of my favorite venues. In general, one of my favorite states to play in general. I also do like playing a couple different states quite a lot, but I if I had to go from like places in like New York, I also really like a lot of the venues like the Brooklyn Monarch and any of the smaller venues there like the Meadows and the Wood Shop. I've played with a lot of big bands there. Like I played Summer Slaughter, played with Nita Strauss, Wednesday 13, Blitz Kid, Doyle, Tim House. Uh, I think a fun, more communal place in Queens that I played a bunch of different place times, like Shillelagh Tavern. I just played with Nim Vin there, a horror punk band. Uh, this one doesn't exist anymore, but Revolution was a really cool spot. I played with CKY there and Deicide, and I was asked to play with all that remains there once.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I remember when they played Fishhead once. Fishhead Cantina, which is a not a small place, but it's also not exactly a big name place here in Baltimore either, but they got asked to play. They were played there, and I was like, "Wait, what? All that remains? Really?"
Yeah,
Like, cool.
yeah, they're a really good band. One day I'll hopefully have an opportunity to share stage with metal bands again. But right now, it seems like I'm going to be focusing with on like a lighter sound of music for a minute until I can rebuild a little
Yeah.
bit more.
Obviously, you're playing with the queers again, so that's good.
Yeah, they're. It's funny because one of my most favorited videos that I did while doing the open mic circuit, I was wearing a shirt by the Queers, and then while they're not the first big band that I've opened for, because I did play with Tim House and them Vins, and did play a festival. The Queers are going to be the first band that I played with twice, and kind of have a little bit of a pseudo little outing next week where I'll play with them in Brooklyn, and then I'll play with them in Pennsylvania all in the same week, which haven't done that quite the same.
That's so cool that that actually worked out to where you could play. Now, is it day to day, or is it I'm playing with them in Brooklyn and like a few days later?
More like that. The Brooklyn date didn't exist for quite a while, and I got booked on that like sometime earlier this month or late last month, and I got booked on the Pennsylvania date sometime several months ago now, really. Like right after February, probably April, maybe March.
Okay. Yeah. Are you playing with the now I have never seen the Queers, but they have always been on my list of bands to see, and they're playing in Baltimore in 22nd, I think it is, of Baltimore. I believe it's the 22nd. I could be wrong. It could be another day, and I could be get mixed in. I know it's around the 20s, and I'm really excited about that because I'm also friends with the Jasons, and I just met them this year. They're really good people, and I really like them. Have and the Jasons are on both of those dates that you're playing, right?
Yeah, they're on the tour. So
Okay. I wasn't okay. Okay, yeah, they're very. I love. Have you seen them before?
no, but I'm aware of them. I've known that a couple of my friends have played with them.
Yeah,
So
they have a split album or split EP. The Queers did one part, and then the Jasons did the other. I have the CD. I'm hoping the Jasons and the Queers would be cool. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Jasons won't care if I bring my copy, but if they're not cool with me having my own copy, I'll clearly buy another one just for both bands to sign it. Because actually, I have to buy another copy. My other copy, my one copy is smeared in their signature, so I have to buy another one just for all of them to sign it. Because I also have friends opening at the Baltimore date. I have two friends that are opening for that show, and I was like, like I knew about the show before it was announced because like I'm friends with the bands and I'm also friends with the promoter, and they both told and like the promoter told me about it, and then the bands told me. I was like, oh, I know, trust me, I
mm,
know. I've already known, and that's what I like. It's like you get scoops, and then it's like, oh, the bands won't tell you. I'm like, I know, but I know you, and you told me, so we're good. I'm buying. It's like, but before I let you go here, because we
mhm.
are running, I am running up on my not my time. I don't want to say time, but I don't know. I don't know if that's the word for it, but um, where can people find you? Social media, stuff like that. Any closing words for you?
So yeah, you can find me at Kyler Sane, KYLERSANE. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, really anywhere. My music is seemingly on any streaming platform, also, and looks like I'm going to have a whole lot of other releases after this one. This one's called Flow, my debut one, and I don't know what the second question is, but yeah, there's just a whole lot of things happening, and I'll be doing that show with you in September
Yes.
20th in Maryland.
Yes, everyone. If well, so the good news is with that one is show up. because you ticket sales are done at the door, um, which is super cool. I like how we can do that, and it's fair. It's $10. So more information will be on Facebook. Find that, and from well, not Facebook, well, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I'll have a. Kyler's also is doing our flyer, so that'll be out everywhere. But Kyler, before I let you go, do not leave anywhere. I want to make sure I got everything sounding good on my end. So give me like 2 seconds.